Hey guys, Rafi here from the Endgame Investor, and it's been a long time since I talked about gold and silver junior mining stocks. I came across a chart a few weeks ago showing the outstanding number of shares in the GDXJ Junior Gold Miners ETF, which includes also silver miners, but it's the same thing with SIL, it's the same thing with GDX, it's the same thing with all these mining ETFs. The interest in these companies in gold and silver mining is at absolute lows. Nobody cares about these stocks because everybody thinks the bull market is over. Now, before I show you this chart of outstanding shares in GDXJ, I had a talk with Galen McNamara, CEO of Silver 47, of which I am an owner. I own a handful of a bunch of gold and silver mining stocks because I do foresee that at the end of this bull market, and we're not near the end yet, but at the end, everyone's going to be going into it just like everyone was going into those altcoins that made no sense, Shiba Inu and Fart Coin and Butthole Coin. And these are not jokes that I'm making up. These are jokes that other people made up. And these valuations of these nothings were bid up to hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, the reasons that junior gold and silver mining stocks are attracting so little interest is a lot of it is technical and stupid. For example, a big mining company will value a junior gold miner at a 3-year average of the gold price because that's how the accounting works in those big companies like, let's say, Barrick or Newmont. They will take the 3-year average of the gold price. Then, if they acquire these companies, it immediately books a loss on their books, and that doesn't look good for them, so they don't want to do it. The other reason is that the capital, the inflows of capital, the paths to the inflow of capital to these companies have become so atrophied as inflation has made these financiers bigger and bigger and bigger that they can't waste time in doing $100 million financing for small companies that need a little bit of capital to realize a minor project for big people, but a major project for them and for shareholders. And these reasons will disintegrate as it becomes obvious that gold and silver are not going to go down secularly anymore until the dollar is finally dead. So here's a zoom in of the chart of GDXJ, the outstanding shares. This is not the share price, this is the outstanding shares of the fund itself. The higher it is, the more interest there is in the fund. We saw a high here of what is it, close to 160 million shares. Now we are down to 77 million shares. It says down here 77.737. So the fund has been cut in half in size, about a little even more than half in size, maybe 60%, something like that. This is not sustainable. It's going to go back up. Interest in this space is going to explode at the point where people realize that it's not just a little spike in gold and silver prices, it's a permanent revaluation higher, and it will continue to do so. Obviously, no one should put all their capital in junior gold and silver mining stocks. But when we get to the mania phase of this gold and silver bull market, I believe the way price is going to move with these types of companies is going to shock a lot of people, gold and silver bugs included. Now, with that, I give you Galen McNamara, CEO of Silver 47. This video is sponsored by them. Thank you so much for your support, and let's hear what he has to say.
Let's just say it costs, I don't know, $25 to produce an ounce of silver. And I'm just throwing a number out there. It's different for every mine. At $35, you're making $10 an ounce. But at $85, you're making $50 an ounce. So your profits go up 5 times.
Hey guys, Raf here from the Endgame Investor, and I got Galen McNamara on the line, CEO of Silver 47. And this is quite an interesting silver market to be in when you are the CEO of a junior silver miner. This interview is brought to you by Silver 47, by the way, and I am a shareholder. We're going to talk about silver. We're going to talk about the art in the background of Galen's studio, where he is in Vancouver, Canada. And then we're going to talk about Silver 47, what they've been doing since silver exploded to 120 and crashed to the horrible zone of 80 that is all making us depressed. Silver at 80, who thought we would have ever been there again? We just can't take this this news. I'm being facetious, as you could probably tell. It's a crazy market, and if you are the kind of person who has wanted to dabble in juniors of either gold or silver, whether established or exploration, this is the kind of market that we've all been waiting for these projects to succeed. Not all of them will succeed, some of them will, but the biggest proportion of them will succeed in this type of market. We're going to talk about that with Galen as things come up. Galen, how are you doing? And the first question I wanted to ask you is, can you explain the Picasso-looking sort of art in the background? What are they? Who drew them? And do you have any relationship with the artist?
Yeah, okay, sounds good. Well, Rafi, thanks for having me on the show. But yeah, I'm a little bit of an art fan.
I'll buy it. One art, please.
But unfortunately, my wife and I have different tastes, so I'm not allowed to hang things like this in the house. So here we are in the office, and the one behind me is a Norval Morrisseau. He's an Ojibwe artist from northwestern Ontario here in Canada. And this is, of course, just a reproduction because the original would be much too expensive to just leave up hanging in the office. But I like it, and I got it in a PDAC charity auction in Toronto a few years ago. And then the one above that, that's actually up here. That's actually a panoramic photograph. That's probably around 100 years old of one of our projects in New Mexico called Mogollon that a friend of mine found on the internet. And I thought it was probably pretty rare, so I quickly bought it and had it shipped. And then this one behind me here, this is my dad gave that to me, and that's the bullfighter. And it's by an artist that's most famous for doing sad clowns.
The clowns.
So he did one that's not a sad clown. It's a bullfighter. It's a little prouder. And his name is, I think, Bernard Buffet, French artist. But yeah, that's it. I hang them in my office because I'm not allowed to hang stuff like this at home just now.
Well, as we say, there's a term here called shalom bayis, peace in the home. You do what you can to make your wife happy, and this does not seem like a crazy compromise to me. There are much crazier ones. It
Yeah,
seems pretty level out there, to keep a
yeah,
good marriage.
exactly. Well,
Keep your paintings in your
we used to
office.
say, yeah, exactly. Thank you. Well, I was going to say we used to say happy wife, happy life, but now we have to say happy spouse, happy house. So that's what I'm saying.
Okay, well, I'll stick to the gendered term, and you can pick whatever you
Sounds
want. But
good.
yeah,
Sounds good.
um, I'm more conservative in that way. So let's
Yeah.
let's begin the conversation with when you became the CEO of Silver 47, you decided you were going to go into the silver mining space. Did you expect silver volatility to be this high? What's your reaction to silver rocketing up from 20 to 120 and then falling back to 80? Is this something that you thought you would live through? Are you expecting worse? Are you expecting more of the same? Are you expecting a calming in the market for a while? And how do you feel about this?
Yeah, it's been a real roller coaster. So starting with when I started, I founded the predecessor company to this Suma Silver, and I think the price of silver was touched $18 at that time. And it's one of those things we always talked about and heard about triple digit silver and hey, one day, yeah, that's things are going to move up and when they break 50, it's going to go up real fast. And things I remember it being the fall, later fall, and it started to break through 50 and then all of a sudden we in the conversations I would have with my peers, it would be like maybe triple digit silver is coming sooner than we think. And then of course it, over New Year's and a little through January blasted through that and got up above 120, which in such a short amount of time was probably pretty clear that it was ahead of itself a little bit. And now I think as we're talking today, it's a little over $80. And I mean, if you'd have told me that silver was going to be $80 a year ago, yeah, I might have done backflips, right? Like that's a great price. And, I think that even at $50 silver or $40 silver, a lot of the big silver mining companies are making money hand over fist. So at $80 silver, maybe I'll use the cliche, it's kind of like a license to print money. And nobody really understands that yet because we haven't seen any of the earnings reports. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then in terms of volatility, there's what I think is going to happen and then what I want to happen. Yeah, I think in bull markets like this, volatility is always going to be a thing. And if we look at what happened in the past run-ups, although I think the fundamentals are different now, between 1980 or 2011, if we look at that, there was times when it pulled back similar percentage amounts and then got back on the train and kept rolling. So it's kind of hard. It's a little bit of a white knuckle experience, for all of us investors. But I think that's the way it's going to continue to go. Now, what I want, I would love to have some stability at around $80. I think that's a great price, and I don't think it's probably not in the cards.
Well, I mean, I've been looking at the open interest numbers in gold. I don't really pay attention so much to the open interest numbers in silver because it's such a thin market. But one argument in favor of stabilizing around 80, let's say somewhere between 75 and 90, I don't know, just loosely because silver is so volatile. The open interest numbers in gold futures, which I think drives the rest of the market primarily, is down to 400,000 contracts, which we haven't seen since bear market bottom in 2015 in gold and silver, right? So it means like the speculators have been totally washed out. At least the ones that got in, let's say at like
Yeah,
$400 gold and started just buying and pyramiding on top of their pyramiding speculation bets, and they just got slaughtered because they
yeah,
came in late to the game. So I think we could see. I think we have a decent chance of seeing a floor here, especially in gold, if not in silver. But we'll see. Um,
yeah. A floor here would be amazing. It would that a new paradigm would be very, very well received by all of us, I think.
well, to get into the specifics, um, what would it mean for Silver 47, uh, taking into account your projects? What would an $80 silver price, and in the context of that question, just remind me and the viewers, like, what is the primary business model of Silver 47? Are you
Yes.
looking to develop in order to sell off these assets? Are you looking to go into production yourself? What's the main goal here?
Yeah. So Silver 47 is an American, a US focused silver and critical mineral exploration and development company. We've got three projects. One's in Alaska, and in Nevada, and in New Mexico, that are all high grade, that are, I would say, on the path towards growing towards critical mass. And when I first started the predecessor company to this, Suma Silver, we did a merger with Silver 47 a few months ago, for context. I always knew that good silver projects in the United States were very difficult to find. And we started with one, we acquired two, and now the pro forma company, New Silver 47, has three. And I think I can almost count the quality silver development projects that in the United States that aren't in the hands of a major, probably, if not on one hand, then almost on one hand.
What is it? You have 6 fingers on your right hand.
And we're working on three of them. In total, we've got approaching 250 million silver equivalent ounces in the ground that, if you look at our market cap and relate it back to our enterprise value, we get about 41 cents per ounce of value in the ground. And our peers are getting over $2, $3. So we think that we've got some catch up to do there. But in terms of an $80 silver price and how that affects us, well, it of course makes all of our exploration projects where we have ounces in the ground more valuable, but that's more of a longer term thing. In the short term, we also have a tailings deposit at our project in Nevada that hosts about 2.75 million silver equivalent ounces split between silver and gold. I combine them into silver equivalent just for simplicity. That, at $35 silver, our internal work shows that it's probably a break-even operation to reprocess those old tailings, which is old mine waste, really. Reprocessing stuff that's already been processed. But at $80 silver, might look really good, and the size of it, you could probably produce those ounces over 2-3 years once you make a production decision and be in production within a year or two once you have an idea of does it make money or not. So that's something we're looking at very closely right now. And the other interesting thing, as I digress a little bit about tailings reprocessing, is that you can provide a blueprint for other projects, and it shows that you can quote unquote rehabilitate abandoned mine land features in the Western US where there's millions of those around. So something like this could be a nice pilot project for a new source of critical minerals in the US. And we really, this administration has really highlighted how important domestic supply of these things are. Probably maybe as well as any has, certainly better than any has in my lifetime. So we're very tuned into that. And then just moving on to the last part of your question, I think, what's our plan for the future? Well, do we want to sell or do we want to build? Well, I think all of us junior companies, and my philosophy is that we're out here adding value as efficiently as we can. And we've discovered silver at 25 cents an ounce so far, the lifetime of our company. And our mission is to add as much value and build a company fit for purpose to take the next step, whatever that next step is. And if and when an opportunity comes that is better we think could be advantageous for our shareholders or win for our shareholders, well, then we consider it very strongly at the time. But we're aggressively moving forward as efficiently as possible, no matter what the stage.
In terms of concrete steps, your detractors would say something like, well, silver's gone up from 20 to 120 and silver 47 has stayed basically even. So I'm not really getting the price appreciation of silver if I invest in silver 47. So before you answer, I just want to preface this by saying that junior mine. This is just something I just discovered actually a few hours ago. That I often look into the amount of shares available of like GLD and SLV to see what the retail interest in those ETFs are to see if the public is getting excited or not, right? And they've both have been pretty flat since 2021. There's been no net change. But I never tracked the amount of shares uh, outstanding for GDX and GDXJ. The amount of shares available for those ETFs are near where they were during bear market lows in 2015 for gold and silver. And when I saw that, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. So overall, still, even with silver at 120, the interest in the junior mining sector, both gold and silver, is so low that even with the prices of this ETF like skyrocketing like 300%, the interest in these stocks is almost nothing.
Yeah.
And you're not at the stage to be included in these ETFs yet, but I mean, hopefully you're headed there. And I don't know how much growth it would take, but what is your response to
Yeah.
people who say that you're not tracking the silver price, so why should I invest in you?
Yeah, of course, of course. That's a really good question. So we actually are starting to get into the ETFs. We just got into SLVR in a small way at the last rebalance in December, but that's usually the way it goes. You start off small. And I would say number one, when we look at the history of gold and silver bull markets, when people start investing in the mining equities, it usually starts with people investing in the big companies because those big companies at higher metal prices, they start putting out earnings that look really, really good. And especially in silver, when it goes from $35 a year ago to now $85 today, I mean, like, let's just say it costs, I don't know, $25 to produce an ounce of silver. And I'm just throwing a number out there. It's different for every mine. At $35, you're making $10 an ounce. But at $85, you're making $50 an ounce. So your profits go up 5 times. And I think that when we start to see those earnings of the mining companies, the capital will flow into mining equities to start. And usually the way that this goes is that the bigger companies see the love first, and the bigger companies are starting to move, but I don't think we've seen, anything yet. And then that flows down into the smaller companies, the mid tiers and the juniors and the development companies. And then when that happens, I know it happens fast just from personal experience. At least it has in the past. So typically that's how bull markets, I think, evolve. And once we start seeing the earnings from the majors, especially the silver companies, and there's only 4 or 5 of them, I think a lot of people are going to be shocked. Absolutely. I think it's going to look really good.
Okay, so if I understood you correctly, what you're saying is that as gold and silver head higher, first the big companies get the price appreciation in their stock prices, earnings come out for them, and then it goes down the chain into the juniors, and then finally down the chain into the explorers. And then by the time the explorers get investors, their stock prices just jump in quanta, right? Without
Yeah.
the in quantum movements. So
Yeah, but that's Rafi, that's for as a group. But I mean, a company like ours, we have a lot of catalysts coming. We're working on a significant resource update on our project in Alaska that I hope leads into a preliminary economic assessment. And if that's the case, we'll be able to start talking about economic impacts. And that's kind of us hopefully moving up the food chain a little bit just over the next in this year.
okay, so go into those. What are shareholders and potential shareholders, what should they look out for? And over
Yeah, yeah.
what time horizon?
Yeah, so we're in a great position in that we've got about 55 million Canadian dollars in the bank that we're now ready to really deploy into adding value to our projects. So we're drilling all 3 of our projects this year, starting on the New Mexico project called Magillon. Now we're drilling there. That'll transition in early to mid-March into a significant, probably 7,000-meter drill program in Nevada at the Hughes property, where we're really taking a shot at finding something big. And those ideas are based on our collective geological experience. I'm a geologist. And then that'll transition into, I think, a very significant drill program on our Alaska project this year with 3 or 4 rigs, where we look to both step out and grow the resource, confirm it, grow it, and do some exploration on the targets around the property because it's only 2% explored or something like that, give or take. The opportunities are large. So for us this year, if ever there was a time to go for it, it's now. And for us this year, we're balancing extensive drilling with studies on the Alaska project called Red Mountain that we hope materially change the perception of the project. And that's really our focus.
What I would say, if you're interested, and here I'm talking both to potential investors and to Galen, that this is investing in silver versus investing in exploration companies. It's not a mutually exclusive thing. But if we believe, and we do, that gold and silver are money, and we're going to have a much bigger supply of them for liquidity to trickle down, to use Republican terminology that I don't ever use. I don't know why I used it now. It just came to my head. To the masses, right? If we're going to have real liquidity circulating, then the time before the crash of the fiat system is going to be the most opportune time for exploration companies to really hit their stride, get the investors that they need, and prove their resources and grow as companies, whether they'll be acquired by the majors or a mid-tier, or they'll develop into their own companies. Like if you believe that you have a chance of really investing in a company that is going to become something from almost nothing, then this is the time to do that. If you don't, then it's not for everybody, right? Investing in juniors is
Yeah,
not for
that's
everybody.
fair.
And I always say you should focus on gold and silver bullion, or only secondarily, and gold and silver junior mining stocks.
Yeah, I think that's a
Uh,
good point. And
yeah.
Rafi, I'm a prospector at heart, so I have that the opposite. But I think that's a good point.
Well, I mean, the minority of people will be on your side because you're the CEO of a company, and most of us are not CEOs of any company, and we're more conservative people. But if you're going to take the risk, then all the power to you. Somebody's got to do it, or no one's going to do it. It has to be done. So, Galen, thanks so much for coming on, and I'm looking forward to hearing a lot more news about Silver 47 and not all other, but many other junior silver and gold companies. I think this is going to be a very interesting time, not just for gold and silver stackers, but for the mining stocks. We just saw the GDX and GDXJ. Still, nobody's paying attention to them at all. We're at bear market bottom in terms of the number of shares issued. That's going to change, and it's going to change on a dime, on a silver dime. I don't know exactly when, but there's going to be a point. And I hope and I believe that Silver 47 will be part of that reawakening. What say you in closing?
You know what? I on a silver dime for sure. First slowly, then quickly, as the saying goes. And it's Silver 47. We will be part of that. And we're looking forward to just concentrating on what we can control to add value to all of our projects and add value for our shareholders. So thanks very much, Rafi.
All right, cool. So I wish you the greatest success and to myself as a shareholder. And I will talk to you again at some point in the future, I'm sure.
Of course, of course. Thank you very much.